No more. Okay. Joy of giving, so that the people online can hear. A joy of giving, letting go of control, having peace despite circumstances and all that. It's perfect. And I brought a quote that I want to share. This is from A Course in Miracles, and I'm going to start there. And that is, in you is all of heaven. Every leaf that falls is given life in you. Each bird that ever sang will sing again in you. And every flower that ever bloomed has saved its perfume and its loveliness for you. So I read that this week. Somebody sent it. It was one of our dear attendees and supporters. Kesha has a newsletter, and it was featured in her newsletter. And as soon as I read it, I was like, oh my God. I rarely bring a quote to read, but I wanted to read that one because it was so beautiful. So as we're getting closer and closer, obviously, to a new year, I'm going to talk about co-creating a new life. The team was asking me a few minutes ago, and they were saying, what are you going to talk about? I said, I don't know. What do you think? And so I'm asking you folks, what do you want to talk about? So I want to mix this in with letting go of control, the joy of giving. It's very important to understand. We're coming close to a new year. I love that you're asking the questions and making the requests you did. How do you have peace despite the way the world is? How do you let go of control? And then how do you blend that with the joy of giving? You'll see. We'll just do it. God has a way of blending things. And let's start with that note. I've taught about God and for so many years, but one consistent thing I say when people ask me about discovering your soul's purpose, one consistent thing is, people assume you have to be like on the spiritual path to discover your soul's purpose. Well, it helps, but you can be on the spiritual path and still run into blocks in discovering your soul's purpose. People will assume that it's just like you're spiritual, you're meditating, the clouds will part, you'll hear the angel choir, and you'll be told, like Moses, here's what you're supposed to do. And they think it means a specific career and so on. Our soul's purpose is really the tone of who we are. So what I do for my soul's purpose is nothing but really the manifestation of my awareness of who I am. So who I am is what I do, and then what I do is my soul's purpose. But still, the head wants a better answer than that. Still, tell me what to do. One of the other perks, and you got to let go of that control. You got to let go of that, I want it to be what I want. Here, God, here's my answer. Hopefully yours fits. But the other thing with this concept of soul's purpose, it's not for angels only. It's for everybody to eventually know their soul's purpose. Edgar Cayce said, you will never be satisfied in this world without knowing your soul's purpose. So therefore, I would assume there, must be kind of important. But your soul's purpose isn't just like for angels only, for perfect people. Strangely enough, my new life, I'm ready for a new life. Then stop talking and let it come. But I'm ready for my new life. But I have to stop this first and stop that first. I got to change habits and hobbies. And all that helps. But what's really amazing to me, that only God, the wisdom of the mother, can pull this off. And that is, it's going to take into account all aspects of you into your soul's purpose. The one that was completely out of control, the former addict, the mother, the non-mother, the dad, the never been a dad, the warrior, the loudmouth, all kinds of aspects of your being. It's not like you have to actually become a better, different person to get a soul's purpose. You can be in the worst of yourself, and there's still a soul's purpose waiting. Apostles were given roles as teachers of the world, and some of them because of the fire they had. So the fire we've got inside, and as well as our weaknesses, they become part of our role in our soul's purpose. God will say to you, hey, how's it going? You ready for your soul's purpose? Well, yeah, except. Well, what? Well, I have these issues. I'm kind of lonely at times. God's going to say, perfect. I know people that can relate to loneliness that I need you to talk to. And every one of us has a unique group of people that only we could reach. It's not just the spiritual teachers. That's just a role. Some of us do this to make a living, and others do it because it is our soul's purpose. That's the teacher I'd prefer listening to, by the way. The one that it's actually who they are. But we all get to be who we are, strengths and weaknesses. That's not what determines your soul's purpose. It's your willingness to know your soul's purpose that determines when that kicks in. Maybe a few more lifetimes. Let me get a little bit better in my personality and temperament. Moses tried that. Jonah tried that. And they were all told, no. Your purpose is here. You're ready. You just don't know it. Helen Schuckman, who channeled A Course in Miracles. Oh, man, I'm not at all ready for this. And Jesus says, I'll just keep talking. You'll eventually realize you're ready. If you weren't ready, how could I be talking to you? Well, you must be forcing it. No, I actually can't force your will. But if you're listening, you must have agreed. So there, So I don't care who you are, what you're listening, where you're at in your life, and where from where you're listening to this. Try to just soften that place, that control freak inside. Try to realize, that has not ever really served me. Well, some counselors are going to say to you, no, that's survivor. You survived trauma. Good job. I would say good job. Good job. But do you ever want to move from surviving to thriving? Of myself, I could do nothing. Well, I got myself out of my family history. I pulled myself out from the bootstraps. I made myself into who I am. I would just stop speaking so loud about that. The last thing you want to do is tell the universe, I did this on my own. And have the universe say, really? And let's see what that amounts to. Smash, and put you through the dark night of the soul where you end up having to learn, I of myself am nothing. First time I went through the dark night of the soul. Nobody told me about this. Like the John Lennon song. Nobody told me there'd be days like this. Well, so there I was thinking, this is amazing. I'm young. I'm still a kid practically. I'm already teaching. I'm already known. I'm already successful. It feels right. Just information can just come through. This is amazing. So now I just get to step into the wonderful life of God. Everything's going to go peachy now that I'm living the Christ life. Oh, man. Boom, just cut you off, at the ankles, just collapse. And how could this be happening? I'm spiritual. Shh. Just say, I know nothing. The dark night of the soul will hit you far less intensely if you claim to know nothing. Nothing, claiming that doesn't belittle you. It means of my ego self, I do know nothing. So I just, stay out of the I know into I'm open. And then there's nothing to be cut off from. There's no humbling that has to come because all you said is I'm open. That is humility. So you don't have to be humbled. And God only knows what's going to bring you there. Some people call it reaching bottom. But remember, I've always said bottom can be just called now. You don't have to actually be in hell before you call it rock bottom. Just think about it. Intelligent people are allowed to say, I don't think it has to actually get worse. I'm just going to stay open. There's a story about a guy, really moving story. You've heard of Billy Graham. Billy Graham is probably the most successful Christian preacher, whatever you want to call him, in history, certainly in modern times. Very, very influential, to other religious figures and political figures and so on. Shy of apostles in Christ. This guy really did a lot in that movement. A lot of integrity, pretty good guy. And one time he was on his usual tours. I think this might have been back in the 50s. And he went and was speaking overseas. And there was a gang of thugs that hated life, hated people, hated God. They actually said, let's go assassinate him. 10 of these guys of a gang. So they showed up overseas to this lecture he was doing. They showed up and they all had weapons. They said, whoever gets to him first, let's kill him. So they were all sitting there, and the leader of the gang was all marked. He's looking at for his guys. He sees them all. And they're like, let's make our move, get a little closer, get a little closer. They're getting all staged to kill this guy. The main reason they wanted to kill him is because they hated him. But what's underneath hating him? They hated God. And they hated God because things didn't go their way. Now, mind you, we have to feel compassion for these kinds of people. Like the leader, he said, my dad died when I was a little boy, and I was devastated, and I thought, why would God do that? So I started hating God. So hurt, it's always hurt that makes people act hurtfully. Doesn't justify the behavior. I'm just saying we understand differently. So they're ready to kill this guy, Billy Graham. And so he's getting to that point. Okay, here's where ready in about 10 seconds. And then 5, 4, and he hears a voice. What are you doing? He turns around, there's nobody there. And he's like, well, that was weird. And then he's hearing, what are you? And then he realizes that was God's voice. And Billy Graham was saying, it's time, people are going to come up to to get blessed. And that's when they're going to kill him. So this guy's ready to go. And what are you doing? And he's like, well, who's that? Starting to get he said, I started to get really unnerved. And then, he hears, and then he says, if that's you, God, because I have a feeling, I don't believe in God, and I hate God if there is a God, but that could be God's voice. There's nobody else here. So he says, why did you take my dad? And the voice says something along the lines, I didn't take your dad, and I would never do anything to hurt you. So moments later, this guy is in a puddle, just crying, being converted. But the funniest thing about the story is all the other gang members got converted. Now, why did that happen? They didn't have to be perfect to hear the voice of God. Some of us are like, he's a thug trying to kill a spiritual teacher. He hears the voice of God. I've been meditating for 20 years. I haven't heard anything. I haven't even seen purple. Where's my moment? You know what? You're still waiting for a moment, so the moment might not come. This guy was completely lost. Do you want to be that far gone before you have is that what you need? If you want to have one of those moments, go ahead and be that far gone. Be on the verge of trying to kill somebody. If that's what you want. Do you really want to go that far down? No. Then just give thanks that you chose a little more the easy way to find God. So there's this whole movement of, co-creating a new life, I call it. But people are talking about the law of attraction, manifestation. Guys, there are 2 ways you can make things happen. One includes God and one doesn't. So I teach co-create a new life with God. Co-create. Now, if Michael Mirdad is teaching a workshop, which I'm going to do the first Sunday of January, when Michael Mirdad teaches co-creating a new life, wonderful. You get 100 and something people registering. If Michael or someone else offers the same workshop, the same hour, if someone else were to offer that, and it's called Law of Attraction or Getting What You Want, they're going to have thousands of people register. Then why don't I just teach that and have more students registering? Because I can't. I don't believe in it. I don't believe, meaning I don't choose it. That's the last thing I want to do is tell people they can do things of themselves. Because those things that you create of your own accord, with your own will, are the first things that are going to go when you start waking up. Your old self has to die in lieu of your new self coming in. The old self means all the false masks you've created for yourself. The survivor included. Look at me. Wow, I've become a famous CEO despite my hurtful past. Well, good job. I'm glad you're not in the extreme pain you might have once been in, but you still better be prepared to move from, there's the victim to the survivor, but go to the thriver. And that you can't do alone because the broken self doesn't know what the thriver looks like. All they know how to do is scratch to become a survivor. So we have to die of the old self. And there's lots and lots of popularity around all this, law of attraction concepts. I'm not talking about one specific teacher or teaching. any of it. Lots of coaching, lots of counseling, lots of self-help is around that idea. How to get what you want. They call it very popularly years ago, it started being called, create your own reality. I don't want my own. You get that? How about co-create God's reality? Ooh, there's a novel concept. But it's a turnoff to people. Why? It's not just the teachers and teachings. Why are they popular? Because there's a group of people, the majority that are even into self-help, still being hijacked by the ego self. Still willing to be conned into settling. I want to create my own reality. I'm going to get away from my family stuff, and I want to get away from, all that past history, and money doesn't grow on trees. I want to know how to use my mind to create. If you're going to use your mind at all, why don't you do it to find God? Why don't you use your willpower to say, of myself I am nothing, but with God I'm everything. And it's because still there's a resentment towards God. You can call it a fear or a resentment. Fear is just an overt hatred of God, and if you have the overt hatred is like the anger at God. But a lot of us are so spiritual, we don't want to own that we're angry at God. So we have to at least own there's something off. Maybe it's fear. Anger is the overt version, that's all. Fear can be very overt, obviously, too, but fear is more like the passive-aggressive hatred for God. I just don't want to talk a lot about it. I want to call God something else. Universal power. Why don't you just call it God? Oh, I don't like that name. Really? Have a conversation with God and explain that. Listen, I don't like you per se, but I like you in the form of universal energy. Well, one day, your soul's going to be tossed out into the universe, which is black, cold space, and say, fall in love. Go ahead. You said you loved universal energy. Go ahead, knock yourself out. And you'll just be floating. See how long you're going to be worshiping universal energy. Rise in love with God. Come back to that concept of trusting God. When you hate Billy Graham and you're going to kill the guy like those assassins tried to do, it's God that you hate. And at least the guy knew that. That's one reason why he was able to have a vision, a transformational moment, because he was at least willing to own what was really going on. When you're drinking yourself to death or drugging yourself to death or whatever other form of addiction, when we're doing these things, we're actually covertly trying to destroy ourselves. Now, if I'm made in the image of God, when I'm trying to destroy myself, overtly or covertly, I'm actually trying to punish God. I'm going to destroy this body because that's my statement of destroying my soul. And when I destroy my soul, it's my way of saying, to hell with you, God. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you a thing or two. Of course, God's like, no habla inglés, God's like, I have nothing to do with your little drama. This is you working on you, and that's it. This is you processing your own stuff. And what's nice about it is you can direct it to God. You can direct it to your father, human father. You can direct it to father images, spiritual leaders, bosses at work. Direct it anywhere you want. They're all connected. So what I really want is all of my relations to become holy. What I really love is every person I learn to love again is really a statement of my growing closer to God. The more people I segment out, I don't like that particular group. There's a segment of myself that just got pushed away. And that's fine, because you're going to have to deal with that eventually anyway. I don't like that one group. Good, then you're going to be coming back as one of them later. No matter how justifiable your resentment of them is. We all agree, we dislike white supremacists. Okay, here we go. You get to come back as one. Till you don't hate them. That doesn't mean you enable it, but something in you is going to change. And there's a lot of people in groups like that, like the group that was going to go, try to assassinate Billy Graham. God's still going to find him. God's going to always speak, because God speaks to us all through every day. God is constantly, I don't mean once in a while, God is constantly sending a wave of love, saying, you are my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. Well, you must not have been watching what I did yesterday. You are my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. God always says, I love you, come home. Well, some of us say, okay, I'm on my way. I'm starting to pray and meditate and do yoga. God's like, whatever, I already said come home, meaning you must be worthy already. No, I have work to do. What? Fine. I have to reincarnate more. Okay, fine. But God, really, I love you, come home. All the rest, I need to read more, meditate more, do more, be more, grow more, heal more. All that is our opinions. Are they bad? Well, no. Are they real? No. But they're ours for now. There will come a time when I'm going to drop all my opinions of myself and others. And that's when I become a holy being. That's called the last judgment. In Revelation, when it talks about the last judgment, it's not the last judgment when you are finally judged and sent to hell. The last judgment means, and on the day of the last judgment, we should have some background music now going boom, 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 heavy, heavy. And on the day of the last judgment, everybody will stop judging. That's why it's called the last judgment. Well, wait. What a novel concept. Can we have a little judgment? I mean, I don't know what to do without having judgment. This is how we are, which is why we haven't done it yet. But people are going to eventually reach bottom in that proverbial metaphor of reaching bottom. We're going to collectively reach bottom and say, of ourselves, we are nothing. Apparently, our opinions and judgments haven't improved our lives. So we're willing to call on the only real judge. Sounds like a bad word. The one that judges us as innocent of all crimes and sins and wrongdoings and karma. Everything washed clean. So I get to start over. But it's not really starting over. Co-creating a new life is not really about a new life. It's about the one that was always there, but could not be seen through hateful eyes. So there's this idea, this concept, a new life. Let's start a new year with that intention to have a completely different life. But that also means being committed to not having the old life. Lots of people are like, I'll give up the old one as soon as I see a favorable newer one. And then they end up, another year has gone by, and it's the same old, same old. It's going to be interesting where people go next year. Because some are going to choose collapse. Some are going to choose survival through all of it so that they can then boast about how they made it through and survived. And others are going to surrender, which sounds terrible. Isn't that the same as collapse? No. Some are going to say, of myself, I'm nothing. What would you have me do, God? And that's what we choose here in this, global ministry. Telling people, of ourselves, we're nothing. Let's join together. Let's act like spiritual family. Support each other in righteous decisions we're doing our best to make. Say no to things that aren't feeling very clear and clean. And choose, God, what would you have me do? If we really understood God only loves us, it's easier to surrender to God. When we don't surrender, the majority even of people in the new age, the world, by and large, they're not surrendering to God. But you would think that in the spiritual community, that would be a common thing. They have words of surrender. They have words of, I'm ready for a new life. But they're still trying to run the new life from the old self. One of you had asked, you got to let go of control. And how do you let go of control if you're addicted to being controlling? All you have to do is recognize it didn't work. I mean, that really helps you just go, well, you know what? This hasn't really worked. Well, but didn't it help you get through this? Yeah, it helped you get by at best. But it never really brought you, what another one asked, peace. People that have survived still never found peace. Almost nobody that has gone through some form of survival. And is that what I want to be my legacy? Do I want to just leave going, and here lies so-and-so, and he barely survived? Really? I mean, is that it? Or do I want, he got it? That's kind of cool. Buddha, are you the Messiah? No. Who are you? Awake. See, he didn't claim to be the ultimate Messiah. He just said, I got it. What do you got? This is a joke. This is an illusion. It doesn't have any power over us. And what about past lives, Buddha? Don't we believe in? Yes, I do. I understand. Past lives are part of the illusion. You're here doing penance called past lives. You're reincarnating because you think you're flawed. But if you sit still long enough and just let all the imagery of how messed up you are come to you and not stick, you'll find there's a clean person underneath it all. It's easy to have that Velcro for things to stick to. Every bit of regret, doubt, shame, fear, all of those become Velcro for things to be sticking to. And when you try to get your act together and co-create a new life, even with God, co-create a new life, it's not like the ego goes, oh, well, he used the word God, let's just set a step aside. The ego is going to say, oh, you're going to do that God thing, huh? Okay, I better start working, doing some research on your history. What would be a shame, a regret that you haven't thought about for a while? I got to surprise you with a few. So you can sit there going, oh, Monty Python, what the hell was that? It's gotta, in the middle of your meditations when you're supposed to be all blissed out, it's gotta throw something in that surprises you. See, when you don't do your work, the ego doesn't have to actually work that hard. It's like, just put it on automatic pilot. These people just keep doing the same old, same old. And they have the same old year after year. Get it together. Get your act together. Decide to be committed to your path. The ego has to actually take the ship off automatic pilot and steer you into meteor storms. Steer you into things that would, feel uneasy. Things that would pull the rug out from under you. So everything's fine. And then the unexpected. But the unexpected is never unexpected. On a deep soul level, we knew these things are coming. That's why when Job goes through hell, and at the end of the Job story is saying, God, I don't understand. I've been a good guy. I have. All my life I've been devoted, spiritual, just loving, and so on. And God responds by saying, Job, you've only known Job as long as he's been Job. Which implies you have other identities, past lives, where you have stuff that's being meted out, that's being worked out. So he's explaining to Job, dude, this is karmic. Now, he didn't say dude, but, he's just saying, this is karmic. I mean, what is he saying to Job and you and me? Don't give me the victim thing. I've been really, really spiritual, I said, in going, hitting my first dark night of the soul. But I've been spiritual. And God said, yeah, whatever. Now what? But, talk to the hand. Because Job, I know you before you were Job. You've got some stuff that's being burned off. What Buddha would be referring to as burning off. You hold your center, let the meteor storm come. Don't react. I have understood life is an illusion. And you're dodging all these meteors. You said it's an illusion. I mean, just this morning, I had an intense meditation on that. At the fact that it's an illusion, but then these things come at us that seem so real. And if I flinch at one of those meteors, have I done wrong? No, to err is human, to forgive divine. So just see it and go, wow, that was kind of weird. And you see another meteor coming, you feel the compulsion to duck, whether that's ducking away from a new relation, ducking away from somebody's comment they made that hurt your feelings. If you're going to duck, and then see how soon you can come back and laugh. Laughter is so important. Because if you see the universe for what it really is, you realize it's a joke. And when I understand people have trauma and hurt inside, so it doesn't seem like it. So I'm not at all saying anything derogatory to them, because by all means, we feel hurts. So cry your hurts, comfort those hurts, come out of that. It's okay. But do remind yourself more and more and more, it has no real power over me. I know some things don't seem like that's true, but this world actually does not have power over us. And one of you is asking about the joy of giving. People, I want peace. I want to be able to dodge these, meteors. I want to be able to not have them happen at all. Whatever you want to happen will come primarily from you giving what you think you want. So the whole law of attraction is not about me getting, it's about me giving. So if I say, I want to be able to manifest a new car and more money or whatever, then learn to be great stewards with what you have. I want a wonderful lover, then be one. I want better friends, then learn to be a better friend. I'm a perfect friend and lover to everyone. They just don't get it and I'm a victim. As soon as you keep telling us that, that's what you're giving us. What you give will come back. Tell us how much you're a victim. Tell us how much God doesn't love you and that's what you're going to be manifesting. You want to change your life, then be the change you want to see. And I know there's resistance to some of that for some of us, but what is it you want to see differently in your life? Start becoming that difference. When I become that change, bring that to the world. True giving comes from that. True giving comes not from the people that give with something, an intention behind it. Because there are people that give as rescuers or codependent people. Hi, listen, nice to meet you. I just want to get this arrangement clear. I'm going to be giving you lots. I'm going to really give you time that I don't have, energy that I don't have, all because I want you to love me. I want you to like me. I want you to appreciate me. I want one more Christmas card every year. There's a subconscious arrangement. And if that's what you put out, those kind of arrangements come back with interest rates. All those arrangements with codependent relations, they're coming back with interest rates. So I want to give from a place that's truly the right place. But what is that right place? Give from what you are, not from what you need. I want to manifest. I want a law of attraction. I want to create this and that. And all these people are law of attractioning themselves into debt because they're attracting cool stuff. But if you really want to create a different life, you have to be the change. I want to create more money. Then I have to become more the consciousness of prosperity. Oh, you mean by sitting there going, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine. That's not what I mean. I don't mean by repeating mantras of selfishness. You can create from God or the ego. And far more is the majority of manifesting from the ego. But what's really messed up is even the portion that's supposedly God-centered manifestation, the majority of that is twisted. How do we know? I don't know. Did you bring God into it? Did you ask God to guide you in what you want to manifest? Well, yeah, I do sometimes. God, I want that. That's not what I mean. The way you manifest, co-create with God is to sit and call in the feeling of God. You don't ask for stuff. You ask for the consciousness of God. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, which means the consciousness of heaven. So I'm going to sit here and call in the presence of God. Oh, peace, peace, peace. So instead of, that job is mine, that job is mine, instead, all I really want is the peace of God. There we are. And of course the head's going, really? Because the ego's going to go, dude, really? How's the peace of God going to pay your rent? You need the job. Just go, get behind me, Satan. Peace of God, peace of God. Okay. Then, from this place of the peace of God, what would be the best job for me? This one or this one that I'm choosing between? Because relatives are going, you choose this one because then you'll be living near us. And then there's other people that's the one that's the money. And somebody else, stop, get behind me, Satan. You could say that in emails to all of them. Don't. Get behind me. Just pause. Peace first. And then, which job most resonates? When I was a kid, I took a job working as an assistant teacher in an elementary school. I could have taken a job the family wanted me to have that paid about 4 times more money. And it involved career and all the wonderful things. Benefits. Oh my God. Michael, you're on your way. No, I couldn't do it. I went for like a week, and I was miserable every day. So if I sat and said, peace of God, did that resonate? Not at all. And then your head goes, well, maybe it does if you think about the money. No, I wanted to die. That's how much I didn't want to go to that job. And yet, it took no thought at all to say, the teacher assistant. And there's a smile inside and out, and God, it's so fun. Head goes, doesn't make much money. Yeah. Wow. Still, peace. And then you can say, well, but how long did you do that? I actually did that for a couple of years. Did you thrive financially? No, not really. But I felt really good. I enjoyed going to work every day, and I didn't see it as work. So it was kind of cool. And somehow that became used, a tool on my tool belt to my soul's purpose today. The other job would not have applied to this. But this $4 an hour, $3 dollars an hour at this teacher's assistant job was actually a building block for my soul's purpose. So now, I know at the time I could have said, wow, I'm not making that much money. But when you find your soul's purpose and you realize these things you didn't really care for that much played into your soul's purpose, it all starts to make sense. And that's, again, where we can more easily let go of control. But do you have to see the payoff before you let go of control? We could just say, you know what? The more I make decisions from a place of peace, I just know it's going to add up properly. That's partly what true faith would be. It doesn't have to be things seen down the road. Just know there is a God. God is a God of love and peace. Any decision you make that resonates with love and peace is probably God's will, and you'll be paid off for making that righteous decision. It'll come full circle. It'll pay off at the end. But it takes that letting go of control. If I want happiness, I need to be the presence of happiness, and not just be it, give it. When I give love, peace, abundance to others, I actually become more of it. That's the actual cycle called cause and effect. The more I create abundance for others, the more I receive it as a consciousness. It becomes a full cycle. If all I do is want to take, it's an empty cycle. There's no cause and effect. I just take. So I always say, this saying I kind of made up, there's a difference between forgiving and forgetting. Forgiving and forgetting. We forget to forgive, but it's also a play on the words. Forgiving is something you give. Forgetting is something you take. When you give, you receive. When you take, it dies right there. You can only take so much. Some people, they can make it all the way till elderly age and die in that state of taking. But some catch on. The more your soul is present, the more we believe in soul, the more it'll speak to us and remind us, please do not live a life of taking. The great metaphor, that whole story of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge. And it's never too late. Not only to change our ways, it's never too late to say, wow, look, Christmas hasn't passed. It's not too late. I can still make a difference. Co-creating a different life with God means everybody's involved in this. When I co-create with God, everybody benefits. It's not just me. The people around me co-create, more smiles, more confidence. If you're a counselor who does nothing but, and doctor, social worker that does nothing but work with people and their issues, you're a rescuer. If you recognize the value of what you're doing and that you also gain, that we're all in this together, you're a healer. And that's the difference. The whole real cycle of cause and effect means more God, the ultimate cause, capital C. More cause, God, there'll be greater beneficial effects. That's the real sense of cause and effect. So, I pray this is all making sense and that we can all kind of recognize what I've talked about. Co-creating a new life, yes. But we've also addressed the letting go of control. We've addressed soul's purpose. We've addressed the joy of giving, the real kind of giving. is joyous. And everybody's had a moment of that, where you thought of somebody else. You helped. You said, beyond my little self, how can I be a better person today? We've done that. And look at the benefits. Even having a job that is more in alignment with your soul's purpose, more and more and more jobs, more in that direction, the happier we feel, the more time seems to fly. I shared with somebody earlier this week that years ago, around 1990, my former wife, just as we were ending our partnership, our marriage, she wanted to open up a spiritual center, and was trying to figure out how to do that. So I lent myself to that. I stepped in and said, look, I'll just channel to you how to do that. Literally and figuratively channel. Here's how you could do that. This and the ideas came to me. Never did business, never was in business. But I said, it'll come to me, and it did. So I gave her all the ideas on how to do that. But interestingly enough, before I knew it, she's like, would you teach there to help? Yes. I had a good reputation. People wanted to come to my workshop, so I could teach there and people would come, and now it's thriving more, this center. Then she's like, well, I have to go to another job today, because that's how she was still trying to earn money. I need to go to this other job. Would you sit in for me? Oh, yeah. Pretty sure selling $1.50 incense is right in alignment with my soul's purpose. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm supposed to be traveling the world. So I didn't like it. I liked the people. I liked being around the incense smells. I liked all the good stuff, but it felt demeaning to me. I'm a teacher. Why am I sitting here saying, and people, thank you, sir. I'm like, thank you, sir. That's not how they speak to me when I'm teaching workshops around the world. Oh, Michael, this was a wonderful workshop and you're amazing. And now I get, sir, can I have my money back? I want a different incense. I'm dealing with humans. Just get me on tour, God. Haven't I deserved it? I made it through the dark night of the soul just days ago. Don't I deserve better? And oh man, that was irritating. Deep down, it was feeling frustrating and demeaning and all these other harsh words I could use. Loved some of it, but I didn't like some of it. And then 20 years later, a place called Unity of Sedona says, would you come and be our spiritual leader? I'm like, no. But then finally I agreed. But when I did, well, what are we going to do? How do we do it? I go, well, we're going to do it better than it was. I'm not coming to be like a minister at a churchy church, This has to be a spiritual center. And well, what do you suggest? Well, we got to have outside places, in and out. I want holistic, inside and outside. It's got to be a spiritual center. We have to play, cool music, or there's got to be color, life, right? And so they were going, yeah, and it's all working, and it's working. And I go, and you got to have a spiritual, like a bookstore. A bookstore? No, we can't afford that. Oh, shush. Of course you can. A bookstore, you got to have the books and the incense and funness. And they're like, oh, no. And I channel the ideas. And guess what? Well, where are we going to find it all? I know where you can get books and incense and all that. So you know what happened? Our having this thriving Unity of Sedona was the result of even something I didn't like doing. When the time was right, God brought that one irritating piece of working at a spiritual center full circle, and it became a gift that we all benefit from. Is that making sense? Even something you don't want, and so on, it will come around. Something you regret having done in your life. When we give up the old, it can be used again. It's not that I have to literally go sell the incense again. But if I had to, I'd love it. I was telling you about, Chelsea's oils today. I love that. How can I not just, I don't want to put them in an infuser because then they'll stop smelling. I have to keep, after they're used up, I won't have them. I mean, you can just smell them through the thing. That's me. I love it. I love it. The childlike part of me. I always loved the gift cards and the art that they were selling and so on. But with it came the resentment that it was pushing in on my time as a teacher that I thought I should be doing all the time. Why would I put a pause on that? I knew God likes me to teach. Why would God? It doesn't matter. But I gained a tool on the tool belt that took 20 years to see the benefits of. I'm sorry for the time it takes, the inconvenience it might have on your life, but it matters not. I don't care what you've done. I don't care. The color of your hair is going to make a difference to the people God brings you to, believe it or not. The color of your height, your body type, it's all perfect. When we surrender it, God makes us teachers of God to reach the right students. And somehow, your voice, your style, your nervousness, all of it is somehow going to be perfectly used by the perfection of God. That only God would know how to do that. You might have run a retail store. You might have run a boutique. You might have been single or married 10 times. Any of it is going to be used for the right people, believe it or not. Somehow. And some of it seems impossible. Every single thing. That's the intelligence of God, the mother, that whole aspect of God, the Holy Spirit, to know everything you've ever done and just how to use it for the greater good. And you would think, well, there's some things probably wouldn't apply. Anything. I don't care what it is. Flying kites, I don't care. Any of it. And, it'll be amazing. One day a kite's going to come down and hit you on the head. And it'll be that the person that was flying it comes over and apologizes and strikes up a conversation. Don't know. But everything is going to come full circle. God is the Alpha and Omega. So trust that God's presence will come full circle. It's only a matter of time. And it's not like maybe. It will happen. The sooner we surrender and the more thoroughly we surrender, that's the only thing that will affect the timing of it. Please take a few centering breaths. Set aside all stuff of the world, all stuff of life. Soak in a little bit of what we've talked about. Just see, does anything fit? Does it make sense? Anything that doesn't, let it go. But whatever does, breathe it in as your own. And even though everybody online and in person sits here going, oh, this is interesting, look more deeply in what it means to you that everything that's ever happened to you, that others did and you did, every study, every experience, every hurt, every wonderful thing will be used as part of your blueprint, so to speak, in your soul's purpose. God's voice saying to you, you are my beloved child, says the mother, in whom I am well pleased. Mom, I've done I know, honey, and I've got some people waiting for just that person. Oh no, but I was really bad. I took and I robbed and I stole and yeah, I know. Isn't that amazing? She says. And I've got people that need that languaging. And we'll meditate 2 misconceptions that have sabotaged our life. The first is that we should try to manifest a better life with our own willpower. Look at that. Own that we've believed it on some level, that to make a better life, I have to, and stop and go, wait, I need do nothing but follow the lead of the mother. She can show me. The misconception number 1 of creating a better life is that I, of my own self, accord, will, am going to be the one that's going to change my life. Just sit with that for a moment. let it be unraveled. Just say to yourself at the end of whatever you're coming up with, I trust in God. I need do nothing. Even if my head starts to try to get in there, shh, just tell it, be still. The only part that would try to say or infiltrate other thoughts would be the fear in me, the ego. I don't have to fight it. Just be still and know the I am presence of God. And the second primary saboteur within us is the belief that there's a conflict between spirituality and materiality. That we can only either be spiritual and broke or prosperous and greedy. Look at that for a moment. It isn't true. But look at it for a moment that you might have those beliefs deep down inside. Are you willing to let go of such beliefs? Are you willing to drop those? You don't have to say yes. You could say not yet. That's fine. Be honest. If we're dishonest about any of these things, we're going to create more sabotage to our new life, our greater good. So own it. The conflict that I thought and perceived was there between spirit and matter was a mistake. It's not there and it's not true. If I believe in the I am spiritual presence of God, then I'm allowed to welcome it in materially. I'm allowed to have fitness, happiness. I'm allowed to have my cake and eat it. I'm allowed to be happy. And if I've been divorced 5 times, it doesn't mean I'm unworthy of a good partnership. And if I've had an abortion in my life, I'm still allowed to be at peace with that and find new life in the form of having a child or just new life in me. I don't have to punish myself anymore. And I know some people will say, I should forever feel bad. No, that is not the will of my mother. Only the voice of my ego ever wants me hurting. Every time I'm hurting, it means I listened to the wrong voice. I chose the wrong teacher. In any and all instances of such, I give this all to you, Mother. I give this all to God. Even if there's any resistance in me to this, I give that to God as well. I choose to know the I am presence of God. My worthiness comes back to me today. My value. I don't need self-esteem, which is ego-based. I'm choosing self-worth, which is the voice of God telling me my true value. And I do have value. A last breath or two, and in your own way, quietly give thanks, acknowledging that this is true for you, acknowledging that this is, and so it is, it's fact, it's me, it's my reality. So it is. How's it feel? I really hope that the one piece I was conveying, no matter where you've been, you'll make a difference. A funny kind of a thing happened. There's an actor named Michael J. Fox. He's got a particular illness that causes his body to shake, right? So he had somebody harassing him, trolling on his social media, making fun of him and his disease. And he said, usually I handle ridicule and criticism fairly well. He said, but this was starting to get to me. This person was being out and out cruel, demeaning gross about the disease and Michael J. Fox's body behaviors, right? So one day he's looking at that and his son was there and he's going, what's wrong, Dad? This guy, he's saying all these comments and it's really hurtful. And the son says, type this one reply. It was just simple. It was like an acronym. And then, Michael J. Fox goes, well, what is that? Dad, just type it. Trust me. He's like, okay, types the acronym. And then the guy replies back and says, my whole life has changed. And he's going, well, what was that? The guy says, I'm so sorry that I was acting that way. And he said, I was saying you're a jerk and you're not funny. And he goes, when you wrote me that acronym, I burst out laughing, and I now think you're the funniest guy on the planet. Michael J. Fox goes to his son, what did you have me write? It was the acronym for shaking my head. But it could come across like I'm shaking my head like you're a jerk. But he got that it had a double meaning, that my disease causes my head to shake. He laughed and used the disease as a way, and this guy apologized. You don't know. You don't know what stuff you experience that becomes a change for somebody else. If all he would have done is hated the guy for doing it, would that have changed the guy? You know, I don't know, folks, what you're going to choose in your life. A little levity, realizing, you know, this life is an illusion. But comedy is a timing thing. Sometimes it's not funny to you know, certain things. And some are seemingly more horrible than others. You might, you know, see no humor in the Holocaust. But I think it's hilarious that Jews played Nazis on Hogan's Heroes and Get Smart. I think it's a way to go, you really? We are going to have the last word. You know, we're going to make fun of your whole ism. And I think it's great to find some way to loosen up and lighten up a bit. It doesn't mean the event was funny. It means I can change and have something else. So your sicknesses, your losses, those are not funny, but they still don't have power over you. And when we believe something else has power over us, it's called worshiping a false god. Because we all know, what is the only power in the universe? God. What's the only thing that has power over us? God, because God created us. Therefore, anytime you live, think, feel as though something affected you adversely, you're affirming that it had power, which makes it a false god. And that's kind of funny. It is kind of funny. One day everybody will realize all the illusions are quite funny. How could ye are gods and goddesses turn into, oh my God, another wrinkle. Oh, it's terrible. I can't go out today. I just can't go out. I got to go get a wood plane and shave off parts of my face so I don't have wrinkles. You know, it is kind of funny. What are you doing? You know, look at your counters and you're under your cupboards. Look at the number of things. It is kind of funny. It looks like an apothecary shop of things to make you look better. It is kind of funny. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's kind of funny. You know, you have ironing boards for your face and, you know, all kinds of things. You know, tinters and hair dyes and the nails, you know. If it's an accent that says, I love myself so much, I love looking this way, I love accents, then it's a beautiful thing. If you're like, oh my God, I better fix it up or people are going to think less of me, that's not healthy. Nothing in this world is truly good or evil. It's man's thinking that makes it so. That's all I'm saying. So be at peace. Laugh a little bit more about the things of this world. So thank you, folks. We're going to do our donation and close with a prayer. I always appreciate you folks having such patience with the things I share, because I know some people don't like hearing some of these things. You know, I know that. I know people are challenged with whether I'm making jokes and making light. Why does Michael make light of things? Because it's a joke. That's all. That's all. It's just this world is a joke. It doesn't really have power. The evil ego doesn't really exist. It's kind of ludicrous that children of God would want to manifest this little creepy thing called the ego that ruins our lives. It really doesn't make any sense at all. It's kind of silly and therefore worth laughing at. Tragic at first, but laughable when you really get the joke. Tune into the fact that the person speaking, the music we sang with, the people around you are all projections from within ourselves. Everything you heard and liked or didn't like is a part of yourself. If you liked what you heard, give thanks that you have gotten to this place of understanding. This is me with my greater commitment to the presence of God. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Blessings, blessings. Thank you, folks.